Guys, we got the new fuel tank out here. Matt already dropped it in the shield. Might be all it takes to get her running under her own power.
It's running.
All right, we got a fuel pump.
See if she'll fire.
All right, go to the pump. Hello and welcome to Gearhead 704. I'm Matt, and as you saw in the little beginning there, we were rolling Scarlett in. That's also Matt, that's Jen, and that's Tiff. We're all having fun here today, but yeah. In case you missed the last upload, we were getting this car ready to go for auction. We got it running, got it inside the shop, got it cleaned up. Jen did a great job on that. I helped a little bit. And today we're doing fuel tank, fuel pump, replacing that on this, and that might be all it takes to get her running. I mean, she already ran, but Matt was using, brake cleaner to get her, keep her running. Might be all it takes to get her running under her own power. So we're gonna find that out today. It's gonna be a little bit of kind of how-to. I've never done one of these. I'm gonna need to do one on the SSP, actually. We need a bigger fuel pump in here. Fuel tank's gonna stay, I believe, but I will need to do a fuel pump on this one. So this is kind of like practice. Practice? Yeah, this is just like kind of like practice. I do like that little clip. Yeah, I was a big basketball fan back in the day. Anyway, that's what we're doing, and should be a lot of fun. So let's go on for the ride. Like I said, guys, if you didn't catch the details last time on this car, I'll leave that video down in the description below. But one thing is it did sound pretty good. It does have flow masters. I want to show that off real quick. They're dumps. So you got a couple flows and they're dumped right before the axle. But getting ready to, I guess, take the old gas tank out. I don't know. I'll get Matt in here and he's going to explain how to do this. All right, Matt. So I know we're replacing the fuel tank and the fuel pump. It's kind of like the first step to get this thing to run on its own, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the fuel tank's been sitting for 19 years. If there is any fuel left in it, it's varnish. It's just not going to be any good, which means all the components there are not going to be any good either. The fuel tank and everything attached to it will be new and clean. And
then we'll see how it runs. I mean, it might still have problems. Could be injectors, could be fuel rails.
Yeah, we know the ignition's working, but everything associated with the fuel system, we don't know.
Right.
We know this is going to be bad. We don't know if we're going to have to flush the lines out. Maybe flush the injectors out. Injectors may not even work. The fuel pump relay might not work. The computer might not turn on the fuel pump. Who knows? We're gonna find out.
But we're gonna start here.
We're basically gonna replace everything that's associated with the fuel tank just because of the old fuel that I suspect it's gonna be in there. So we're gonna get a new tank because it eliminate any possibility of having rust in the tank or any varnish. Don't wanna clean it up. Fuel tanks are cheap. Just buy a new fuel tank.
Yeah, everything in there is just turned to varnish if there's any fuel, right?
Or it's coated or it's rusted. Okay. So yeah, at this point, plus, I mean, got it up in the lift, taking the fuel tank out, just do everything while you got it. So yeah, we're doing the fuel tank. We're gonna do the new fuel pump with the hanger assembly. We're gonna do the sending unit for the gas gauge, all the gaskets. We're gonna do the seal for the filler neck and the vapor valve and seal. And that's everything associated with the fuel tank. So yeah, we'll drop that down. We're gonna throw everything in there away and we're gonna put all new stuff in.
Okay, so the first thing we gotta do, I know this part, is get the old one out.
Right, yeah, so to do that, right here, this is your connector for your fuel pump and sending unit. One half is the little mini harness that sits on top of the tank. The other half is the harness, the body harness of the car. That's the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna disconnect that. A lot of time, or if it hasn't been messed with before, there's a little clip that should hold this harness in right here, but obviously it's broken, yeah, so we're not gonna worry about that. Okay. Yeah, so you're done over there, and then you're gonna come over here. So we're gonna disconnect the two fuel lines right here. One goes to the fuel filter, one's the return from the injector rail. Take these loose, then we're gonna take this bolt out right here. This strap's gonna hang, we'll take the strap out, and then at that point, we're gonna set the car down and put the gas tank on top of a trash can, which is what I use to hold it. We'll sit on a stool, take the last bolt out. At that point, the tank's loose. We'll then slide it off of the filler neck and drop it down a little bit more, disconnect the last of any hoses, which I think at that point there's just a vapor hose, and then the fuel tank's out. It's that simple.
Oh, it sounds pretty simple. Okay. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna be doing some of this, so let's see how it goes. I wanted to catch up with you guys real quick. I am going to explain the exact details of how I got the two straps undone once we get it out of the car on the new one, so I'll show you that. But right now, we're getting ready to pick the car up some, and I wanted to point this out. So
at this point, both straps are off, both fuel lines are disconnected. For the most part, the fuel tank is now disconnected from the car.
It's resting on the trash can.
Right, it's resting on the trash can. I've actually got a little bit of the weight on the car on the trash can, so it's kind of sandwiched in between the car and the trash can. But once I start picking the car up, on the passenger side, the filler neck goes into the side of the fuel tank. So that's gonna hold that side up. But what's gonna happen is as I pick the car up, this side's gonna sag. All right, and then when it gets low enough to clear the hump, and we'll show the hump on the fuel tank whenever we take it out, then we'll pull it off of the filler neck.
Okay, the filler neck will actually stay in the car. We're pulling the tank off the neck. Okay.
Correct, yeah, and there is a grounding strap that we need to remove from the filler neck to the fuel tank. It's just a little 8mm bolt. We pop that off, and then we pick the car up, and we're good to go. Yeah,
and we'll point that out to you guys too. So basically what we're gonna do, get the tank out. Before the new tank goes in, we're gonna mock everything up, point out exactly what I had to do to get it down. So back to time lapse. Got the fuel tank out, and here it is sitting on the trusty trash can. Be sure you get one of these at home as well as a lift. I'm just kidding. But Matt's going to point out, we've got to disconnect a few things here still, right, Matt? So yes. What are we looking at?
The only thing we're going to reuse is stone guard, which is the shield underneath. We're going to reuse the fuel lines and the fuel pump harness. Everything else we're going to replace. So this is the duckbill style. The duckbill styles, this particular one, you're going to get underneath this section with the screwdriver. Pop that off. This is the one where you need the tool to get in there to compress it like an AC line.
And that's how we got these other ends off,
yep,
right?
Exactly the same way. Yep. So when we do this...
So this uses like the AC type connector.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And this uses the screwdriver.
Yeah, that uses a clip that pops in there.
Right, so you use the screwdriver just to push it up and then it pops off.
Correct, yeah. Okay. And then these right here, they're kind of reversed, but this little tab, you pull up on the tab, and then the harness will pop off. Same thing on the other side.
Okay, pretty easy.
Yep, pretty easy. And that's it.
All right, I'll do that. And you're looking for a filler neck.
I'm looking for a filler neck because the inside of that filler neck, which is still in the car, not that one, but the inside of that filler neck is as rusted as the inside of this tank, which is absolutely atrocious. Yeah, guys, we looked inside the tank with a flashlight and it's completely rusted. The cool thing is the fuel pump never worked, so none of the rust got up in the engine. Guys, I got the tools right here Matt was talking about. It's these two. Again, I'll use the screwdriver on this style, and on this one I'll be able to use this to disconnect, kind of like quick disconnects for AC lines. I did have to do that on the car for these. You guys really didn't see that because it was hard to get the video camera up in there. So I just want to point that out, and when we get the new fuel tank mocked up, I will go ahead and show you guys that as well. All right, so let me go ahead and get these disconnected. Catch up with you in a second. All right, the old gas tank is down there. We are going to properly dispose of that later, but we did save the shield here. So the new tank's going to go down on the shield. Obviously, this is a great thing to keep on because it protects, you know, from punctures and things like that. So we are going to keep the shield, and then we're getting ready to go ahead and put the tank over it. Matt also found a new fuel filter, so we're going to replace that as well. Here's the old fuel filter. The new one is going in. Got the same disconnect here that you need for the screwdriver to pry up on that one part and slide it out. There's a couple of screws here to unscrew on both sides, and then the fuel filter will drop down. Guys, I just got the fuel filter out. There is actually only one screw I need to unscrew. It loosens a clamp. I said there was two. There's just one. But Matt's got the fuel filter right here, and you were telling me there's something we got to be careful with on this? Yes. Well, not be careful. Just kind of like want to see how bad your fuel pump was or fuel tank was. So this is the direction of flow. So coming out of this end, it's already filtered. So, and this is old gas, so it's not going to be perfectly clear. But you can see it's like kind of just like kind of tan, or maybe a little yellowish. If you go over here, ugh, it's a lot dirtier. And this one's actually not too horrible. A lot of times when I do this, you'll pour that out and it just comes straight brown.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
yeah, there was definitely a color difference I saw there. So
yeah, exactly. So this one wasn't too horrible, but yeah, and it's probably because it hadn't had gas pumped through it in 19 years. So
yeah.
Now if that fuel pump would have kicked on, it would have been a completely different story.
Okay, all right, yeah, with all the rust in that tank, for sure. Getting ready to put the new fuel filter on. I'm going to, on both sides here, put some dielectric grease, our old trusty buddy dielectric grease on both sides, and then I'll have the one side in the car that I just disconnected. I've already got the clamp, and I'll just stick that on. Oh, I'm sorry. After I go ahead and tighten the clamp down, I'll just stick that right on. And on this side, this is the one that's going to connect to the lines on the fuel tank. So we'll do that when we put the new tank up in the car. As I got the new fuel tank out here, Matt already dropped it in the shield, and so what do we got to do here, Matt, besides put it back together?
Yeah, so we're gonna put it back together so we can put it back in the car.
Right.
So that's where we're at. So
I knew that. Just say.
One quick word of advice: these edges, both where they're stamped out, especially where they're stamped out, all these lips, they were not really deburred or sanded. They're raw, straight shear or metal cut. So a lot of times they're razor sharp. So be super careful, like don't run your fingers around or along an edge or something like that.
Okay. The ones from the factory, were they not that way?
They were definitely better.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I think they were smoother on the edge. Another thing, that ground strap for the fuel tank, I hate that we don't use it, but you see this black line right here?
Yep.
That's where they welded the tank together. So typically, a factory one, it would have been welded a little bit more on the inside. Normally, to make that ground strap mount, I would drill a hole through this to make it mount. But there's not enough material on this side, and we don't want to drill on the inside because then that hole is going to let all the gas leak out.
Okay, so we're not connecting the ground strap.
Unfortunately, I just don't put that back on with an aftermarket tank.
Yeah.
First thing you're going to do, you pop the filler neck seal in. All right. So again, dielectric grease is everything. So I put a good amount of dielectric grease, just put around in that groove. The smaller diameter part right here, you can see this is larger here. This goes to the inside of the tank. So with the style that we sell, the part number goes on the outside, or the wider flange goes on the outside. So put dielectric grease in here along this edge, mostly along this edge, not so much down in this groove, but along in this edge, because you're gonna have to kind of wedge this in there. So you get it started, but you kind of get it started in there, and you got to compress and kind of squeeze and maneuver it in
there. The dielectric will help that go easier.
That helps with that a lot. Yep. And again, watch your fingers here, and this raised lip right here needs to go in this groove. And then we'll do the purge valve, the fuel pump, the sending unit, and we're ready to put it back in.
Okay, it's time for the fuel pump. We do want to highlight a few things here on the fuel pump because it's a little tricky, Matt was telling me, or everything's tricky for me, Matt, but here we go.
No worries. Yeah, so I mean, fuel pumps you usually get two different ways. A lot of times, especially if you're doing performance, you're just going to get like this pump right here, which is the actual pump itself. So what I bought, since I got a rusted fuel tank, everything was bad, this is what you call a hanger assembly. So this is the fuel pump hanger. It comes with the sock or the filter. You got the pump, the whole metal bracket assembly with the electrical connector, and the supply and return lines all already assembled.
Perfect.
So when you install it, you're simply going to work that into the tank.
Is that called the sock, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, I heard of that one.
Yep. So you're going to work the sock in, you're going to kind of fold it. You want to be careful not to catch it or rip it on the edge here. You do kind of have to fold and crumple it to squeeze it down in there. And then when you get in there, there's actually a baffle down in there. I don't know if you can see it, but the fuel pump's going to go in that baffle. And the way you're going to know that it's in correctly, you got a tab here and a tab here. They're not perfectly center, they're off center, so it can only go one way. If you work at it like this, center would be more like right here, but they're off. And here's the line, here's the tabs that they line up with. So basically it's going to prevent you from putting it in any other position other than the position it's supposed to be in. But before you do that, you're going to take the O-ring, the square O-ring. You're going to go ahead, you're going to lube that up with a little bit of dielectric. It just makes installation easier and removal easier once it has to be done. That sits in that recess right there. So you're going to want to put that in there first, then put the fuel pump through, because if you put the fuel pump in first, you're going to take the fuel pump back in because it won't go over this.
Have to take it back out.
Yeah, I have to take it back out. And then this is the lock ring that we're going to use to lock the whole assembly down. So, and then we're going to use the same exact process for the sending unit.
Sending unit's the same thing, basically.
Yep, sending unit is basically the same thing. Here's the sending unit we sell. Comes with the gasket and the
So you guys sell all these parts?
Yeah, all this stuff we sell.
Oh man, I didn't say that yet. So you can buy this whole kit at Fox Mustang Restoration, foxresto.com.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and try it.
There you go, do it up.
All right, I got the fuel pump in. Matt, there's a locking ring, I guess, that goes on top, right?
Yeah, there's a little locking ring, and they come off the same way you install them. I know we didn't take the other one off because we're replacing everything, but you'll see you got 3 notches cut in this ring, and you've got 3 tabs that stick out from the fuel tank. Those tabs are going to go over that notch, and then you're going to spin it, and that's what locks it in. And it's got a little cam right there. When it reaches that point, it presses down and seals the pump in. I just use like a small pry bar and a hammer. I line them up, I push it down, I get each one of the notches, I get a tab started over it, and come in, a little tap and a spin, and you just keep going, alternating back and forth until it's locked all the way down. And you'll know it's locked all the way down because See how that little tab raises up, that little raised tab right there? It's gonna stop when it reaches this tab sticking in. Too many tabs. All right, here we go. So if you watch that, I'll go ahead and get it seated all the way. Take a couple more knocks here.
Yep, it's heading that way.
See how it's getting closer? And it's gonna stop right there. And it is possible for the, as you hit it, it's gonna move around a little bit. Just, when I'm done, I just try to center it. But I don't worry about it until I've got it all the way locked.
All right.
Yeah, almost there.
There it is.
There you go. You notice how that sound changed? And there you go. And it's locked down. Fuel pump's locked in. You're gonna do the same thing on the sending unit.
Started getting dark on us. Got a little dark out there, as you can see behind me. It's nighttime. Went ahead and I connected my fuel pump as well as the sending unit. So that's in. Got that done in the time lapse. Did put some dielectric grease over here before we put the connectors down, just FYI. Also went ahead and we're connecting the fuel lines now. This one had a clip I had to disconnect actually when I was taking it out of the car. So at the beginning of the video, if you're wondering how we did that, let me show you right here.
So these clips, I always like to get new ones. I don't like to reuse these. The little duct belt portion goes towards the hose. So you just simply fit it through 2 of the holes right there. You continue on down and you're gonna put it through the 2 holes at the bottom as well. And it'll snap into place.
And now when we were disconnecting these earlier, guys, if you see that lip there, I was getting the screwdriver up under the lip prying, and that allowed me to remove it.
Right, and when you do that way, you actually break off a little retaining tab, and that's why they're not good to reuse. A lot of people reuse them because some of the fuel filters and stuff don't come with them. You need to go and buy them. All the auto parts store sells them at the Dorman Help Products. It's like an assortment you get, but with that little tab broken off, that clip can vibrate out, and your 60 PSI fuel pressure or more if you have performance, that pops off, and then you got a fire.
Yeah, so no good.
No good.
Replace the clips.
Right, so a little bit of dielectric grease on the fitting for the O-ring. We got new clip in, and just slide it in until it snaps.
Which we've already done the dielectric grease, guys, so let me go ahead and see if I can slide it in here. I'm holding the camera. Oh, I heard the snap. Let me try to pull it. We're good.
There we go.
All right, so is the tank ready to go back in the car at this point?
The tank is ready to go back into the car. We do need to swap out the fuel filler neck though.
Yeah, all right, so Matt's got a new one of those. So we're gonna go ahead, position that, and she's about done. So Matt replaced the fuel filler neck. That's all done. And what's next? We got to do something before we put this up in there, Matt, which you did mention to me. It doesn't have any gas in it so it's gonna be pretty easy for us to install it.
Yeah, usually like if it's got gas in it, I just leave it on the tank, bring the car back down, do it that way. But since this has no gas in it, it weighs almost nothing. We're just gonna slap it in. Where a lot of people have a problem though is whenever they go to put the tank back in, they fight getting the filler neck back into the new seal or even the old seal. They fight it and they push, and it's very resistant to go in. And it's because most people don't think that you could lube that up. So what are we gonna use?
Dielectric grease.
Yeah, so just take some dielectric grease. You're gonna just smear it onto the neck. You're gonna smear it on the inside of the seal, and it'll just slide right on, like super, super easy.
We got that strap on right there, and we're about to put the other strap on, but I realized I didn't really explain to you how we got the straps off or on, so Matt's gonna explain that real quick.
Yeah, well, this isn't held on by a bolt, so if you've never done this before, you're gonna be really confused. Basically, the strap goes up into a bracket. The bracket's right here. So the strap goes up through this bracket, and on the side of this bracket, there's a hole. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feed this pin through the hole, through the bracket, all the way in, and then when it's all the way in, it'll fall down, and the pin sits on these ledges right there.
And that's why we had to get it out with a magnet. We had to push this up, and then pull it out with a magnet.
Right, so it's in there right now, so what you do, just get a magnet, pull it out, and the whole strap comes out. Okay. That's it.
All right, I'm gonna put that on. All right, Matt's gonna point out one more thing for us here before we finish up.
This is a pretty big thing. It doesn't seem big, but it's actually very huge, and I'd say half of the people who do fuel tanks miss this. So I'm sure everybody's heard or seen the fuel lines lay against the exhaust pipe and start melting. That's why most people end up replacing them. And the reason that is they don't route them correctly. Whenever you do the fuel pump, you wouldn't think so, but if you look up here, the strap, the lines actually go behind the strap. A lot of people will do them like this, and when you do them like this, they sag and they lay on the tailpipe. It's not the way it's supposed to be done. It goes like that, so So for future reference for anybody who's done a fuel pump recently, you may want to get under your car and make sure that that's routed correctly. Otherwise, you're going to be melting a fuel line on your tailpipe.
All right, guys, the car's down. I finished going ahead and connecting the fuel lines, put the other strap in, as you saw in the time lapse. So we are good to go, but obviously very dark outside, late night here at Fox Mustang Restoration. So you know what that means. It's fat tire time. We'll get Matt over here putting gas in, and we'll see if she'll fire up on her own. Again, like we said at the beginning of the video, there may be other problems, right? We don't know. Could be fuel injectors, could be fuel lines,
some electrical,
computer, anything. We don't know.
Could be a clogged injector.
Yeah, but we're gonna try. So who knows? Maybe she'll fire right up and idle. If so, that'd be awesome. So let's find out. Let's see what Scarlett's gonna do. And again, this thing, probably by this time this video goes up, it's already up for auction, but it may not be sold yet. So I will have all that links down in the description below or on my social media. Again, check that out. But yeah, let's see how she does with a little bit of gas. All right, of course, who else will we have start this up but Jen, because she's already driven it before. So, but Jen and Lily, so we got Lily here too.
All right, so I gotta need to plug this back in. Okay, just turn the key to the on position.
Okay.
Oh, no fuel pump.
I don't think I heard it run.
I heard something.
Did you?
Hold on, it's a new pump, so it might be quiet. Hold on.
You turn it off and turn it on again?
Do it again.
Oh, I did hear it.
It's running.
All right, we got a fuel pump.
Let's see if she'll fire.
All right. Gotta do pump.
Hold on, try it again.
Holy cow! Dude!
Hey, not bad. Sitting 19 years. We'll pump up some of this old gas. Give it just a little bit of gas, kind of blow some of that out.
Dude, it sounds good.
It's running with a little bit of a miss.
Is it?
I can feel it shake.
Yeah, it might have a vacuum leak.
No, it's running with a dead miss. Like one of the cylinders aren't
is that what
running.
that is? Okay.
But that's probably just a bad injector.
Yeah.
Go ahead and shut it off.
All right, guys, the fuel tank replacement, fuel pump replacement worked, and she's running. So Matt heard a little miss there, like you heard him say. So, you know, maybe one of the injectors are stuck or something like that. Let me get more in the light for you guys. But yeah, we may have a stuck injector, who knows? We'll get it figured out. But the good thing is it's firing under its own power. It's pretty awesome. So there you have it. This is a full how-to. We do a lot of these on the channel. I haven't done one this in-depth in a while. I think this is very in-depth. So I hope it helps you guys. Anyway, if you did enjoy this one, please hit the like button. If you're stopping in for the first time, please subscribe, because that helps me out a lot. And I do upload 2 times a week, every Sunday and Wednesday. And yeah, she's running, Matt.
Yes.
We'll see you next time here on Gearhead 704. Yeah, no problem.